creative living, utilizing today's technology with the best of the past to bring you innovative ideas and up-to-date information for creative lifestyles in today's active world. With your host, Cheryl Borden.
Judy, I'm so glad to have you here. We've had several guests, fortunately, the last few years to talk about quilting because it is so popular. All kinds of sizes and picking fabrics. But we're not going to talk about quilting per se in this segment. So how are we going to relate this to quilting?
Well, you know, there's so many blocks of the month and block-based quilts out there. And, you know, sometimes you want to, you know, put a quilt out in your room and you'd like to accent elsewhere with it. Use it as a sort of a focal piece, but then bring it into other elements in your home decor. So what I have for you today is just a couple of tips for taking simple traditional style blocks and then adapting them to kind of accessory pieces that coordinate with it. So
okay, this is our quilt. And we're going to start out with a table runner. So which part is of this quilt of the month, or block of the month, would you be using?
We're going to use this block here, and it's called the friendship block. And so I don't want to teach you how to make the block because I want to assume a skill level that says I have the instructions for making the block, but I'd love to make this table runner, and I don't know where to get that pattern.
And so it's would you call this one the friendship block?
It's a friendship
That's
block.
Amazing. Okay.
Isn't that great? So what we're going to do here, in order to make this table runner and to make it we're going to use, you know, coordinating fabrics to the quilt. And what you might even be using scraps left over from your quilt, which is something that you could, you know, inevitably you have too much. So what you were going to do is we're just going to create some inset triangles. And the way that we do that is you're going to make your blocks themselves. And if this is an 8-inch block, in order to simply calculate how much you need to make what size you need the triangles to be, what you're going to do is you're going to measure your block, and then you're going to add 1 inch to that block.
1 inch.
1 inch.
Okay.
And then you're going to cut out that solid 1-inch block, and then you're going to cut it on the diagonal, and you're going to create these
That makes the triangles.
pieces. It makes the triangles.
Which is old hat to quilters.
Old hat to quilters, but sometimes you get a little mixed up with how big I need to make it. So it's better to know the formula.
Inch bigger.
An inch bigger, cut it on the diagonal, and you've got your
and that's
triangles.
what you've done here.
So what we do is we just attach a triangle piece to the block, and in this case, that would be this component right here. You've got this piece here, and then you're going to...
Let's lay this on here. That'll be easy to see.
Do it right on there, exactly. Now on the center piece, we actually attach a triangle to each center, each side of the center, and then you'll lay it like this.
Right.
And then you'll do a last one here.
Which will be just like the first one.
Just an exact opposite.
Got it.
Right. So real simple. And then you'll right sides together, and you'll sew your seams, and you'll attach them, so they'll be attached.
Great.
And then you're simply going to add a little bit of a border, and then you'll do that.
Just like a quilt would have.
Just like you would have. So you're gonna do your borders, and your binding. I'm not sure which piece this really is. I think it might be over here.
Up here.
And you're going to just simply sew it together and bind it. Now, we're using a cotton batting in here, and we're using this American Spirit batting.
And it's classic cotton batting, 100% natural cotton.
It is 100% natural cotton.
It's washable.
It's washable. It may shrink a little bit the first time you wash it, as will your fabrics. So, but what's really great about it is it gives your quilt a really flat finish. So if you were actually going to set something on top of it on your table, like a candelabra or something, it will be nice and flat and stable for you.
Sure.
Plus it gives you some nice stitching definition. You can really see the stitches here on this quilt. This happens to be coordinated threads, but if you used a contrasting thread, you'd really be able to see that stitch pattern.
That's pretty. Okay, so we've got a table runner that would match maybe a hanging quilt in our dining room or something if we wanted to use it for that. Okay, this is a pillow, obviously, with flange edges.
And this is just a simple square block. I'm not
one block.
It's one block. This is a 12-inch block. Now the table runner there was an 8-inch block, which is a great size for a table runner, so it doesn't grow too big. And you can add multiple blocks to make it longer if you needed to.
Okay.
But now a 12-inch block, when you turn it on point like this, is the perfect size for an 18-inch pillow form.
Which is a standard.
Right, this is an 18-inch pillow form. You can get them everywhere. This is a polyester-filled pillow. That's what's in here. But we made it look bigger because if you hold them up and you look, you can see that this pillow looks larger than this pillow form because we've added this great flange. Now let me show you a little bit about that. The polyester batting in there, and that's this one here. This is the American Spirit. It's a medium loft bonded polyester. And what it gives you is, if you feel this batting here.
The other was the pillow form, and
Right,
this is the batting.
That's the soft touch pillow, but this is the batting. And this gives a lot of body to that flange, so it's not real flopsy.
Flimsy.
Yes.
Right.
So again, what we did was we made our block.
That was just a standard quilt block.
Standard quilt block, and again, we added 1 inch to the overall size and created squares, and we cut them in half, and that's what gives us our
you
corner
can see
pieces.
it. Right here.
Let's move that right off.
Uh-huh.
So quite simply, you just add these
1/4 inch seam, right sides together.
seams, right sides together. Very easy to do. So you then sew on the flange around the edge, so you'll get that flange piece just like we have here. We actually do that on the piece itself. So here we've got it all pieced together.
4 triangles,
Exactly.
and the flange is on.
And the flange. And so then you're just going to layer it together.
It's like a sandwich technique.
It's a sandwich technique. Now what you do is you go ahead and you sew this all down.
And I noticed you cut the other a little bit larger, so you've got some wiggle room, some room to work with.
Yes, a little bit of wiggle room, and you actually set your flange up here with your backing. And you turn it, and then when you go and we did an envelope back. So if you turn that pillow over, you'll see the envelope back, and what that is it allows you to slip in your pillow form, and you can take it in and out, and you don't have to fuss with zippers or anything.
Oh, yeah.
And it's quite simply just 2 pieces of fabric with a hem that are overlapped. And so we overlap them, and that's way when you actually sew this pillow down, you just sew along these edges because your flange is already made with the lining piece. Then you're just going to have your back, and then when you turn it right side out, you have this simple
way to
opening.
slip it in. Perfect.
So just a real easy way to make a pillow with a flange, and it makes a big statement because it's much larger than the original pillow form. And then lastly, we have, these are really popular, and they make a nice decor item because they're not a traditional shaped pillow. It's a little bit more interesting. And so quite simply
But you can see the 3 quilt blocks. These are 8 inch again, right?
These are not even 8 inch. These are 6 or 4
Maybe
inch. I'm not even 100% sure. I think I think they started out as 6, and now they're 5. So again, we have our blocks, and we just put a little spacer between.
Oh yeah, they're about 4 inch, aren't they?
Yeah, they're little. They're little babies.
Yeah.
And so all you do is you just put a little spacer between them to
no
that way to
triangle,
length them
we're
out.
making rectangle.
Exactly. And then on the edge here, you can see as we've done, we've got we added spacers in order to create the width that we need. And then we did simply added these little striped border once we've got it all pieced out. So you piece this all together in the center, and then you add the next border.
I always love the way fabrics are chosen for quilting. I just think they're beautiful.
I know, you can really get away with things that you could never wear.
No.
And so then we chose some, again, to broaden out the pillow, a different border, simple to edge it in. And then on the back of this one, once you've got a piece together, again, you layer in your batting. This one here, we used the luxury blend. It's a blend of cotton and polyester. It's 70% cotton and 30% polyester. This has a scrim in it, so it makes it really strong to quilt through. And it also, again, gives you nice quilting definition.
Oh, when it's quilt, I see.
Right, you do want to quilt it a little bit. So, and again, we finished this one with an envelope. Actually, we finished it with some cording, which makes it really nice. You want to do this with a bias edge or a biased strip, and that way when you go to turn the corners, you get a nice smooth transition. So that's what we did here, is it's just simply sew it really close with the zipper foot to wrap the cord with the decorative fabric. And then when you'll just lay that into your seam as you put the back on. You just lay it right in, and so when you turn it, it's faced out. And then on the back side, we put the envelope on this real edge, because if you put it in the center, you're really going to have a hard time getting your pillow in and out of it. So because it's such an elongated shape, so you can see here.
I hadn't thought about that.
I know, isn't that great?
Yeah, okay.
So it's pretty smart.
Well,
Smart
it really
way to do
is. And of course, I've always said quilting's such a great project because it uses up all those sewing scraps that we've had from maybe garments or curtains or whatever we've used. So you can really make use, and for those of us who maybe don't want to make a whole quilt, this lets us make blocks, but to use them in smaller projects.
Right, and if somebody gave you a block quilt and you really wanted to add some accessories, now you know how to do it.
I sure do. Well, thank you so much, Judy. I appreciate it.